Show me love, show me love. This is all we got.
Hello and welcome to the Marley Bird YouTube channel. In this video, I will show you how to master the provisional tubular cast on, a great technique for elastic edges. Let's get started. I will show you how to do the provisional tubular cast on. I know that sounds really confusing and like a really big name, but it's super easy to do. In order to complete this ribbing, you will need a crochet hook, all right? You want to get a crochet hook, and you're going to need some scrap yarn, okay? So whatever the scrap yarn is, just make sure it's a different color than your actual project. Now that you have your materials, let's go ahead and jump in and learn the provisional tubular cast on. You want to grab your crochet hook and your scrap yarn. I'm going to use this red as my scrap yarn today. And we will make a slip knot to begin. Put that slip knot directly onto your crochet hook. Now grasp your yarn and give yourself some tension. And with your crochet hook, we want to go from the left side of that yarn, go underneath the yarn and up towards the right. Now we're going to use that hook there to pull that loop, that yarn over through the loop on our hook. And you'll see I'm grasping that slip knot here just to kind of stretch out that loop so that it doesn't get too small for me. It's at this point that people who are not used to crochet want to give this yarn a really big tug. I don't want you to do that. I want you to keep this nice and relaxed. This hook right here is keeping the size of our stitch, so we don't want to make it any smaller. And then we do it again. So go from left, underneath, back up, and pull through. You want to chain a multiple that is half the number of total stitches you want to cast on, plus about 10 or 15 to have some extra. Go ahead and cut your yarn. And I want you to extend the loop that's on your hook. So just extend it up and give it a pull. Now, on this side of your chain where you just cut the yarn, I want you to go ahead and I want you to put several knots in it. The reason you're doing that is when we unravel this chain here, it's easier to unravel it from the end that we finished on versus the end that we started on. So this knot is letting you know that this is the end you finished on, okay? It's at this point, your chain should look a little something like this. So it looks like, let me get that out of the way. It looks like you have these V's on one side, and if you were to rotate it over, you look like you have these bumps, right? They kind of look like purl bumps. I actually call those the butt of the stitch. We are going to work into the butt of the stitch with our working yarn, and we're going to pick up and knit half the total number of stitches you want for your ribbing at the end. So if you want 100 stitches, you would pick up and knit 50 stitches. So I am going to turn this over. And working into the bump, I'm going to go right into that bump, yarn over my needle, and pull up a loop. So that's one. Go to the next one, yarn over, and pull up a loop. And you just do this all the way down, okay? You're going to go into the bump, yarn over, and pull up a loop, okay? Once you've picked up all of your stitches, go ahead and count them one more time just to make sure. And then we are not joining to work in the round yet. You're going to leave all of these other chains just unworked, and you're going to turn your work and you will purl all of these stitches. So simply purl back. Once you've purled them all, you will turn your work and you will knit back, okay? So we purled a row and now we're knitting a row. So just turn your work and knit all of those stitches. When you get to the end of that knit row, you're going to turn your work, and this is where all of the action happens. So pay very close attention, okay? When you turn your work, this very first stitch, we want to purl it. So we're going to purl that first stitch. Now, when we usually do a make one, we would pick up that yarn right there that's in between our stitches, right? Well, I don't want to do a make one there. What I want to do is if you were to look at your work, this is kind of hard to show like this. Let me try like this. So this is the one you usually would pick up for your make one. If you went directly underneath that, there is that strand there. if you went directly underneath that, you find the strand that is in between the provisional cast on, okay? So this little, like, it looks like a smiley face to me right there. We want to pick that up and knit into that stitch, okay? So what I usually do is I use my right hand needle. I come down here and I go from back to front to pick it up. I come up and I put it onto my left hand needle, all right? So the front leg is stepping forward and I want to knit it through that front leg. You could knit it through the back leg to twist the stitch if you wanted to. I did not find it necessary, so I just knit it through the front, okay? So now I'm going to purl one. And then I do it again. So not that one, not that one. It's the third one down. I go from back to front and I scoop it up, put it onto my left hand needle, and I knit it. We're actually creating ribbing here. So this is our purl. And then come down here, scoop up that strand that's down here into our provisional cast on, put it on your left hand needle and knit it. So I have a knit, purl, knit, I have a purl, knit, purl, knit, purl, knit, purl, and knit. And yeah, those of you who are like, well, why can't I pick it up with my left needle? You could. It's totally up to you. Nobody is telling you one way or the other. I'm just showing you how I do it. I like to pick it up with my right, put it onto my left, and knit into it. Then you purl the next stitch, pick up, and it is going to get a little bit tight as you're doing this, right? And knit. We're going to do this all the way down, okay? You're going to purl all of the ones that are on the needles. You're going to knit the ones that you're picking up from down here along this edge, okay? When you get down here to the end, you're going to get that last knit, and then you will purl one. And it's important that we get one more stitch on here. So you have this tail down here. All I want you to do is work a long tail cast on for one stitch, okay? So use your tail to wrap it, essentially a backwards E around your knitting needle, working yarn around the knitting needle, and come off just to get you one more stitch. So you'll end with that knit. With that final cast on, you now have the total number of stitches for your ribbing cast on, and it's time to work in the round. Everything is on your needle, okay, just like so. You have your provisional cast on there. Just leave it in place. You don't have to do anything with it. Leave your tail. And what we're going to do here is we're going to begin to work in the round in a 1x1 ribbing. And your ribbing is already established by those knits and purls we just did. I'm telling you, this is the coolest thing. So to get started here, you want to take your stitch marker, place it on your needle, right? And then we're going to get started. First stitch here is a purl, okay? So we will purl this first stitch. That will give us a join. Everything might be a little bit snug here on your 16-inch circulars to begin with, but don't worry, they will get easier. And then you will knit and then purl all the way around. So as you get going here, that's what your ribbing is going to look like. Your join here, don't worry about it. We will use that tail to make this all nice and closed at the end, and it's going to be pretty. Just ignore your provisional cast on, leave it there for now, and get your 1x1 ribbing going on here. So your work should look a little something like this. You have a nice 1x1 rib pattern worked around your circular needles, and your provisional cast on is just hanging out down here. Well, it's time for us to remove that provisional cast on. First thing I want you to do is find the side of the tail that you have your knot in, okay? And let's go ahead and you're going to cut that knot away so that way you can easily get this tail removing the provisional cast on. So I cut the knot so that way I can easily pull that yarn through. And then this is going to be really super satisfying, okay? pull the yarn out so that way you're left with just a loop. And all you're going to do is we're going to just undo this yarn from our cast on edge. Okay, just undo it just like so. It's going to look like a zipper. See how it's just zipping along? Zip, zip, zip. Zip, 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 zip. Zip, 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 zip. You can go ahead and get to the point where you can pull out the yarn itself. I left it in there, so I was just pulling. You can cut this and just pull the yarn. Zip, zip. Pull it all the way out, and you have this really great tubular cast on complete. How cool is that? Isn't that neat? Now, if your work is starting to spread apart a little bit down here, don't worry about that. It's totally fine. We're going to use this tail when everything is said and done, and we're going to join those two pieces there, and it's going to look like there is nothing separated there at all. So that is the first part. Isn't that great? I just love that. It's just something fantastic. And there you have it. Now you know how to do the provisional tubular cast on. Use this on your next project and be sure to share with me on social media. I'd love to see your work. Thanks, everybody.
Show me love.